Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott, and very much appreciate you tuning us on in, as it is night number 2 without the beard, and I'm still scared. Yeah, Varla Ventura is our guest tonight. We're getting into all sorts of monster talk with Varla, as you know, and all of you are here as well, including race fan in the gold medal position, Tim Mothman in his goatee with a silver, Desolate One with a rare bronze medal tonight. So congratulations to you. Robert Lamoth, Eternity Eternal, Jimmy Gonzalez. Nice to see you all. There is Roy Boy, Road Flare, Flat 6, Chris 716, Sandra Kincaid, how are you? Lee the Bee and Sweet Amy C, or WC that is. Laura Lobbs, how are you? Nice to see you. Hi, Kathy Evans. And SRCX Climate Research. How you doing? Way up north. Nice to see you, my friend. Scotty. All right. Light Walkers. Good to see you, T-Bone. Thanks for coming on in. Lee the Bee and Major Lee are both here. SG Nav Spotter has returned. SG Nav Spotter will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. Number 6 in your program, starting on defense from Stockholm, Sweden, Lars Janssen. Brown Dwarf, Noble Patrick, the lovely and talented Kira. Good to see you all. And who else is here? Millennium, my man. How's the hair? Memorial Gardens, nice to see you back. And let's see here. Gansfeld Files, how you been? Richard Elmore, Bobbert, nice to see you all. Continuing on with our roll call, Raymond L., Susan Alloway, Gizmo, Science Melinda, Nick Adkins, Paul Demon, and Thurston Howell III. Nice to see you all. Pam Harris, thanks for coming on in. Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. The Melted Broadcast over on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. How you guys doing? Good to see you. Mike Rivers is back. Mike Rivers will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Dizzy Reed, how you doing? Guy Calgary, nice to see you. Hi, Skip to Malou. Nice to have you here. I know, Guy. I know. It's terrible, isn't it? Ugh. All right, continuing on. W. David Page, how are you, my man? Dewey Cheatham Howe, thanks for coming on in. And let's see, who else do we have? The lovely and talented Nikki Williams. Lulu Bell, how are you? Thank you for joining us. Hi, Richard Hauser. And Puck Elf, Super Knower, good to see you. Vanessa, Chris Mack, good to have you both here. W. David Page, thank you for kicking off the super chat tonight. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you very, very much. Scrolling on down, who else do we have here? We have, well, I've said all your names. Chicken Legs 71. Welcome to SOR Chat. Hi, Destiny. Super Knower. Slow Motion. Nice to see you. And now we have the radio side and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight started. Our Cryptid World with Varla Ventura. She is back again. Her first appearance of 2024. I'm excited to have her here because it's always fun. And there's Bill WD-40 lubing us up for tonight's show because you always want to go into a show nice and smooth. None of this rigid stuff. You know what I'm saying? Who needs that? Paramarv, nice to see you. Hi, Phil the Stalker. And we are caught up here. All right, we got 30 seconds before we're going to go. Doubleday, good to see you. Reminder to all of you, the Super Chat is open. And you can also shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. Nothing ugly there. No, you're going to actually want to buy some stuff from us. So go check it out at spacedoutradio.com. At this point, it's time for us to throw those horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. A very busy show tonight as Varla Ventura checks in for the first time on 2024 here with our Cryptid World. We're going to get into some serious monster talk. I know you guys love the monsters. Then, in hour 3, Steve Stockton kicks things off with Among the Missing. Follow that up by Robin Haynes, the Cryptid Report. It's Dave 101 night and the weird news of the week. Yes, our resident monster hunter, monster aficionado, and monster writer, Varla Ventura, has agreed to come back in 2024 for our Cryptid World. I believe this is like the 4th or 5th year that we have had Varla doing a monthly segment on this show. And by God, I love doing it with her because this show is one of our top rated. And people love the fact that she is so intriguing about monsters. It's not about Bigfoot. It's not about Dogman. It's about all these lesser known characters that people have had encounters with, going way back from vampires to sea monsters and mermaids and old sea hags and witches and vampires and everything in between. Varla's website, varlaventura.net. You can also find all of her books at any major bookstore or online. Varla Ventura, nice to see you again in 2024. How are you?
I'm great. I forgot that it's our first show together in 2024. So
I reminded you.
Thanks for having me back and reminding me. Yeah.
Hey, that's what we do around here.
Welcome to the new year.
You are one of our most popular guests that we have. And you know, it's always nice to have you here and hanging out with us, talking about the darker side of the cryptid world and the supernatural world. I mean, you have literally a lot of fun doing this. I know you do. We've talked about it over the years. But seriously, for people who may be tuning in for the first or second time, what's it like being able to live your life around monsters and writing and legends and folklore? Because not everybody gets to do that.
Yeah, not everybody gets to do that. And thanks for saying that, because one of the reasons I like coming back here is that every month you remind me of how lucky I am to be doing this, especially when I'm under deadline and I feel woefully behind and I'm sort of banging my head against the keys, wondering, questioning my life path. I really appreciate you saying that, Dave. It's a nice reset for me to, yes, I should be, I am grateful for it. I think it's kind of just that it's really, not to sound too cheesy, but it really is a dream come true. I felt like I was a writer when I was very young, 7 or 8 years old. I identified as a writer on some level. And but sort of in my early 20s, in my teens, I really got pretty I've been exposed to a lot of the psychic arts and the occult from, childhood. Um, So, for those who haven't heard my bio, I was raised by a witch. I learned tarot at a very young age. I learned lucid dreaming. So all of the occult studies were sort of in my immediate vicinity, color magic, all of those things. So as I got older and I was more of a surly teen and kind of, pushing the edges of things, I got a little more interested in, just the occult and folklore. And I remember saying to somebody that, wouldn't it be wonderful to travel around the world and just study folklore around the world and learn about strange creatures and the equivalent of mermaids. And long story short, I mean, I'm not traveling around the world, but everywhere I go, I do learn about these things, and I do take trips specifically for it. So it's definitely like something that, again, thanks for the perspective, because just looking back, I realized, I asked for this. I did a spell and buried it in the sand, 30 years ago under a full moon on Ocean Beach. And I asked for this, and here I am. So it only takes 30 years, people. It's all right.
You know what? I mean, there are a lot of people out there who have the fortune of being able to do what they do want to do in their life. I'm one of them with this radio show that I do. And, I mean, think about it. We get to talk monsters every day. Every day. While people are worried about, a lot of other stuff, we get to live in this pseudo fantasy / sci-fi world that others just dream of. And I don't know about you, but I've talked to a number of people over the years who are just like, they're like, what do you do for a living? Well, I have a radio show that talks about monsters. Really? And it's amazing how people get so excited about the fact that they've actually met someone who deals with monsters on a daily basis. I mean, it is kind of cool. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, it's always kind of funny because I don't always just, I don't advertise what I do necessarily. I mean, most people that I know that I'm a writer. But I have a lot of acquaintances. I moved to a completely new town about 7 years ago where I pretty much knew no one. And so I'd made some friends, not to say I haven't, but not everyone, I would say everyone that knows me knows that I'm a writer, but they don't necessarily know what I write or what I do late at night. And so it's always kind of fun when you're sort of testing the waters. I think people listening can kind of relate to this, because if you're into the woo, there's always this like moment when you find your like other people, it's like you find your fellow witch, or you find the people that you can talk about mermaids to, and they'll actually like think about it in a philosophical way, and not just look at you like you're a some kind of crazy weirdo, or they look at you like you're a weirdo but with love in their eyes because they love weirdos. So it's always kind of interesting because you have those sort of like superficial relationships, and then you get like a little bit deeper and you can kind of like reveal who you are. And often, for me, that kind of ends up being like, maybe some friends of my, the parents of a friend of my son's or something. And I was like, oh, what do you do? And I said, oh, I'm a writer. Or what do you? Oh, I write a lot of different things, I just like kind of skirt the issue until I feel like, okay, let's just like drop that in and see what happens. And yeah, it's kind of funny to just see people's reactions. But there's that moment when you have like that kindred. It's like, oh, you read the tarot? Okay, yeah. I'll go to that full moon ritual with you. Yes, thank you. I needed you. Oh, it's a full moon tonight, by the way. So happy full moon.
Happy full moon to
Happy
everybody out
full
there.
moon. I have to tell you something, Dave. So
Sure.
I did not know that you shaved your beard.
Yeah.
And I always pull cards before our interviews. I always do it, and the cards always say
Yes.
really interesting things. And so I was kind of startled when I saw that you had shaved your beard, and not because I wasn't expecting it, but also because I had pulled this series of cards. And I think two of them were sort of more specific to me and what I'm like. I'm just really worried I'm not going to get my manuscript done on time, and so I was kind of resetting that. But the other two that came in a row, one had a bearded man, okay, and then right after the bearded man was death reversed, and death reversed is transformation, is like inner transformation and introspection. And so I was like, oh, that's very interesting that those two things kind of popped up before this, because I think that
Is weird.
it
You
is
have
weird, right? Yeah, because I know that that's
no, you have no idea how weird that is,
oh,
right?
please tell me. Please tell us
Well,
all, Dave.
I have been having trouble breathing lately.
Oh.
And I have really, 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 really bad sleep apnea,
Oh.
to the point where, like, I can be having a conversation and all of a sudden I'll close my eyes and I'll literally blank out. I can hear everything, but I'm like sleeping. And
Mm.
this is starting to become a very bad problem for me. Well, I did my sleep test last night, and I was apparently, how can I put this? I was asleep for 425 minutes, so about 6.5 hours. And out of that 425 minutes, I was not breathing for 261 minutes.
Oh my God.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So the death reverse card, I'm actually
Yeah,
I'm actually very glad to hear that
that it was reversed.
reversed,
Yeah.
because I'm making a bunch of changes in my life. Not
Yes.
only am I having to I'm actually thinking about going back for rhinoplasty, because for those people who don't know, I had my nose. I
Oh.
quit playing competitive hockey when I was 23, and old Davy suffered a couple of really bad broken
Mm.
noses, and they were fun getting there. Okay, you know. and and so I actually had my nose reset back in 1997, and it never held. So if you
Oh.
were to draw like a zigzag of my septum, that's what it looks like.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah.
So the air doesn't even have a
No,
straight shot. It's
I
basically got
have
to fight all the way up.
when I got tested, I had about 8% airwave in one nostril and 10% in the other.
Mm.
Yeah, so my nose
Well,
is useless.
I mean, I think like death generally when it comes in the tarot is always, it's always a little jarring to see it. And certain tarot readers will say, "Oh, don't worry. It means transformation. It means like, kind of like starting over. It means that kind of thing," which it does. But also it kind of means death. So when you see it reversed, it
Yeah.
indicates it doesn't it indicates that transformation is happening within, to sort of like the fight for life, right? It's sort of
Oh,
that like, oh yeah, I've got to um like, it's not the opposite, but it's kind of more internal. Like, it's not just that that there's physical things, but that you have to make some very internal emotional changes in order to be able to like go through that transformation.
mhm.
But yeah, death reversed, man. Reverse it. Go back in time. You can do it. We all
So
believe in you.
that's why I kinda changed my hairdo, and I shaved my beard, and, I also have to start losing. I gotta lose about 40 pounds, about
You can
40.
do that.
So I'm gonna be doing that. I'm gonna be stepping back into the gym here, probably on Friday, to start getting my cardio back up, and start getting some, looser clothing, if I could say it that way. I see a couple people in the chat room. They're like, dang, Dave, you got to take this seriously. Oh, I am. I'm taking it very seriously. But the big thing is, you have to be able to make fun of things sometimes.
Yes, you do. It's the only way to cope.
And so I got lectured a lot today.
Yeah.
And so, I'm taking it as, you know what? If, how can I put it? I got to make myself better. So that's what I'm going to do, because I got a lot of stuff to do this year. I really do have a lot of stuff that I have to do this year. We have to do that.
That's the inner transformation right there. So you're right. That is really intense, because that's exactly what it is saying, is that, and that's what you just said, that you're responsible for this. No one can make you do this except you. So you're totally responsible for this, and you're owning up to it. And I get it. Like I'm a joke maker, it's sometimes it's a coping mechanism.
Part of my problem is I'm a workaholic.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm a workaholic. For 9 years now, I have been working a minimum.
You work 2 full-time jobs, don't you?
Yes. Yeah. I work 2 full-time jobs. I work about 16 hours a day. It's funny, about 6-7 months ago, I was telling my spaced out radio team, I said, like, guys, I'm getting tired.
Yeah.
I am getting tired.
I've always marveled at so many people do a show once a week, and you do it 5 nights a week, and you do it for hours at night after I know you've had a full day and you've taken care of your family.
But this is fun for me. This really isn't a job. I mean, I would be up until 12:30, 1 a.m. every night anyways.
So you might as well fill it with some woo.
So I might as well fill it with what I like. And yes, I will be getting a CPAP machine to help me get some air.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
How do you do a sleep test? What'd you do?
So you go to bed, and they give you this machine, and they put one of those, almost like those heart rate things on your finger.
Uh-huh.
And then you have to tape it all down on your hand, so that way you're not, because I'm a tosser and a turner, right? So I had to tape it all down. I'll tell you, try it. I couldn't figure out when I had to wake up in the middle of the night, go to the bathroom. Couldn't figure out what to do, because I was like, had this wire around me, so it was kind of weird.
Yeah. And then it just gives you a reading the next day, or the doctor distills it for you, or whatever. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so the sleep doctor distills it. Apparently, she was looking at my chart, and she's like, "Yeah, this isn't good."
Oh.
Yeah, and I'm like, "Yeah, well, crap happens. We'll get better."
Yeah.
So that's the key.
Sleep doctor, not to be confused with Dr. Sleep. Stephen King's Dr. Sleep. Totally different.
But forewarn all you, when I get my weight back down, I'm gonna look good. I'm gonna look real good.
And that's a warning.
That's a forewarning to each and every one of you.
Look out.
That's right.
I think you look good. I like the beard gone. Actually, I see your eyebrows better now. And I didn't realize what great eyebrows you have. So, yeah, already looking better.
Well, I appreciate that. All right, 5 minutes to go here. Let's talk some monsters here.
All right, let's.
One of the things that I've had happen recently in my dreams is being chased by people.
Mm-hmm.
Monster people, monsters, UFOs, aliens, Sasquatch. Yep. You ever had those dreams where you're being chased by monsters?
Absolutely. And, I've often wondered if there is a psychological benefit to being chased by monsters. I know that's maybe a little bit opposite of what how someone might approach the subject. But I once read an article that watching horror movies burns calories because it gets your heart rate up. So it's stimulating, even though you're not necessarily moving, you're maybe on the edge of your seat and you're kind of paying attention, you're a little bit scared. And while I think that it's a very terrifying thing and a very terrifying feeling to be pursued by something, I have more than once wondered if there's a psychological benefit to being chased, whether that's in the dream state or out in the woods.
Yeah.
Is there something that, I guess our theme tonight is monsters and transformation, actually, Dave, because is there something that happens? The other thing, just going back to like horror movies, there's also something very, if you watch a horror movie at home alone, it can be like really, really scary. I do that a lot, actually, probably more than I should. And there's probably some psychological damage that happens from that. But there's something about like watching a really scary movie in a movie theater with a group of people. I went and saw It in the theater, and that was pretty exciting because it was so scary, but then also there's all these other people being scared right along with you. So it's sort of bonding. It's like going to a haunted house or going to a like whatever, like a terrifying show, and it's meant to scare you, but it's also meant to be like a group activity, and there's something bonding about it. And I think that other than pursuing those things ourselves because we're weirdos or because we love those things, we don't have a lot of deliberate group bonding over being scared and overcoming things. Instead, most of our terrors sort of just dropped upon us in surprise. And so there's something like very transformative. And, kind of, you go through like a haunted house, or you do an investigation overnight and something really crazy happens. And like that's your best friend from here on out. Like, you've shared something very, very intimate. And part of that is that just that raw emotion and of fear and terror that you've had, even if it's just for a brief moment. So as far as being, something I've pondered, there's probably a lot of dream analysis about what happens if you're like chased by something in your dreams. But I think when you look back at a lot of the folkloric record, you often see things not pursuing you in this like super fast, like in the movies, it's you're always like something's running through the woods and it's chasing you down. It's more like slow and menacing, like it's there and you look behind you and you can't see it, and then you go a little further down the road and you look behind you and can't quite see it, but you can see the shadow of it. There's that slow pursuit, which I think is even more terrifying than something just running out of the woods and jumping.
Well, you know what? I think there's an addiction to being scared. I think we all have it. That's why we all look for it. That's why I think, 99% of the people go out ghost hunting is to get that fear factor that, you come around a corner and there's something that's going to go boo at you. And I think that's part of the big thrill that many of us have. And I absolutely believe that. And let's continue this conversation because this is going to get real interesting here on Spaced Out Radio. VarlaVentura.net is Varla's website. For some reason, that always makes her laugh when I say that. But we love her around here for our cryptid world. And she is literally one of the best writers of everything supernatural, paranormal, and much more. You can find her books at any major bookstore. We return on Spaced Out Radio after this. All right, we are clear.
Nice.
And hi, Lewis McCaskill. Welcome to SOR Chat. And who else has joined us here? Attorney to the EBEs. How you doing, buddy? Can't wait to see you in Reno. And who else is here? Gorgeous Kim Jellin, who currently right now is taking part in her third effort of the day to floss her teeth. Yes. Warden Dragon, how are you? Rockin' Rory, how you doing? Welcome back. Boy, I missed a lot of people there. There we go. Now we're caught up. I think so. Hold on. Now I got to scroll back down. Guy Calgary, in case you missed it, I haven't had an ice cap in 2 months. 2 months. That was a hard one to quit. I have to drive by Tim Hortons every day. Mr. Cowley, how you doing, buddy? Bobby Younce, how are you? So, yes. Don't worry about old Davy. Old Davy's going to be fine. All right. The heart hasn't blown up yet. So, it's not going to. I already know that. Now, we can ask about the Jersey Devil, Nikki Williams. That'll come in hour 2. Just say no. What does that mean? Oh, yes. Yeah, see, Kim, there, floss time.
I've flossed twice today so far.
I don't know about you, but like everywhere I am, I always have these things around. I love these things.
Yeah, I have those. I also just like good old fashioned floss. Good old fashioned floss. But my son always uses those, so I have them. So that's usually like one time will be those. Yeah, I don't know. We're both kind of obsessive about our teeth, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Biofuel Brad, that's a good one. How you doing, Brad? And Mac Geek, nice to see you. Let's see here.
I have a little environmental guilt about those, though, Dave. I gotta be honest.
Oh, don't go woke on me.
I know. I think I saw one on a beach one time, and I was like, "Oh God, that's horrible."
Try walking downtown Vancouver, where it's not flossing; it's all needles.
Yeah. Oh, I've been there. Yes.
It's horrible.
I've been there. It is.
Yeah.
It is horrible. Actually, it's horrible. But it's a different approach.
Yeah,
you go south to Seattle and Portland. I lived in Portland, and you see it just as much. It's just, more disease. Honestly, it's same.
It's nice to see. It's nice to see actually Oregon's after a number of years starting to realize that their let's eliminate the laws on any drugs is a failing concept.
It's just kind of a whole like. It's not addressing the root of the problem is basically what the issue is. It's not addressing the root of the problem. The root of the problem is that people are, lost and lonely.
Yep.
And struggling.
Yep.
And not getting what they need. They're not being taken care of. And so they're looking elsewhere for pleasure and love.
You know what I learned from my nephew passing from fentanyl?
Oh God!
In 2018, the one thing that I learned from that is the addiction is usually caused by there's a lot of abuse, people who've been abused and everything like that, and horrific lives, but the majority of the addicts that I met were literally they just wanted to be heard. They just wanted their feelings heard. And when they weren't, and they were pushed away or whatever, that's when, the little devil on their shoulder said, "Hey, come play with me. I'll make you feel good."
You talk about being chased by something, huh?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Right? Totally.
Mm-hmm.
But that's okay. What are you boozing on there tonight?
Okay, so I poured myself a glass of this earlier. This is a wine that I actually I acknowledged it in this book because I don't really drink that much, but when I get really close to a deadline, I totally become a stereotypical writer where I've put everything off. I'm completely stressed out, and
nice.
drink wine to fuel the creativity, basically. And so this is a particular brand of wine that I acknowledged in my previous book. And then I always know I'm getting close to a deadline when a bottle mysteriously appears in my house. So I'm gonna have a little.
Oh,
I'm gonna put a little
hi,
in my mug
hi,
here.
Juliana. How are you? Okay, big thank you to W. David Page, T-Bone, and W. Decker ×2 for the super chats. Here we go, everybody.
Dark horse.
Here is hour number 2, or the second half hour, rather, of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. Varla Ventura is our guest, and we will get to Varla here momentarily as she's smoking her cigars as we speak, if you hear her coughing. No,
Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's okay. Hey, I want to remind everybody that if you miss portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by go to youtube.com/spaced out radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. VarlaVentura.net is where you can find all of Varla's books as she joins us for our Crypted World, which we like to do. And what we're talking about tonight, because we always try and make it a little bit different. Yeah, we do. We're talking about what it's like to have, feel like you're being chased, feel like you're being courted, even though you're trying to get away. It's a weird feeling when you feel like you're being chased. Varla, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you.
And before we continue, I have a couple people wondering names of your books. Varla Ventura's Paranormal Parlor, Ghosts, Seances, and Tales of True Hauntings. Or you could pick up Fairies, Pookas, and Changelings, a complete guide to the wild and wicked enchanted realm by Varla. We love it. We love it. All right. Let's continue on. Hi, Varla.
Hi.
How you doing?
Oh, I was just thinking about the sort of that fear response and being chased, and as your friends Merle and Preacher can probably attest, when we were in Vegas last year, we went to the Haunted Museum, and I'm not sure if they noticed this about me, but like when I get scared, I laugh. Like that's my response to fear. I just laugh hysterically. I can't stop laughing. I think because I'm really enjoying it. That might be why, but it's also just kind of, maybe it's I don't know, but when I walk through a haunted house, I just laugh the whole time. So I don't know. It's kind of interesting to me the way people, like some people, when they get very afraid, they scream, right? There's always screamers in every haunted house. And then other people just don't say anything. They just sort of like close down and just go into like survival mode, or some people saunter like nothing bothers them. I'm a hysterical laugher. But it's interesting to me, just people's different response to like, I mean, if you walked up behind me and like scared me, I would probably just start laughing, like instinctively. I would just laugh. I don't know why. I'm sure there's other people like that too. It just, fear brings
It's
on
your
laughter.
nervous reaction. It's your nervous reaction.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's
but also it's super fun. Like I love that feeling.
Well, you know what, though? I think for a lot of people, like I was saying right before the break, I think being scared is an addiction to a lot of people. That's why, when paranormal television started in the early 2000s, we saw a huge influx of people all of a sudden becoming ghost hunters, and that was a pretty people don't understand, Varla. I mean, you've been in the game long enough that prior to that, admitting you were a ghost hunter, that was pretty taboo back in the day.
Yeah. And those when those shows kind of came on the scene, that was really kind of the first normalization of any kind of acknowledgement of paranormal. Not the first by any means. Actually, I'll correct myself. There have been shows periodically, things like Unsolved Mysteries that would sort of like come on, and usually it might be a missing person, but then they would throw something sort of paranormal in there. But it became much more normal, and then I guess it kind of made it more mainstream, but I don't say that necessarily in a negative way. I think it did make it more acceptable to talk about those things, at least where, I mean, again, I have a very slanted viewpoint of everything because when we were ghost hunting when I was a kid, we used to walk through the cemetery every Halloween. It was our ritual to walk through the cemetery in the dark. It was just what we did, looking for ghosts was a pleasurable experience, and doing the Ouija board and things like that. But I think that the difference really was that the kind of those first paranormal reality shows, it's the reality part of it was what was really different. Prior to that, you would have shows that maybe would show a haunted place, but it was usually sort of fictionalized, and it would say it was based on real events, The Exorcist and things like that. Or you would have, like I said, like Unsolved Mysteries, but it would sort of be like a lot of dramatic, dramatizations and reenactments and things like that. And with those they became reality shows, right? That was like right on the back of the whole like MTV, everybody, Big Brother, everybody lives in the same house kind of crap that was happening, right? Where like instead of it being this really highly produced or giving the impression that it was a very highly produced media experience, it was like you had a little webcam in somebody's house. Even though now we know a lot of that is, of course, more curated and produced probably than anything. But nonetheless, it gave us a lot of more realistic footage and a lot of the background of what went into that. And it was the reality part of it. It was that this was a serious pursuit somebody could take, and that, you could also, it became incredibly popular, like shockingly popular. I think, I don't know, whoever, produced that first Ghost Hunter show, really, like, I don't know if they could have really predicted how much of a cultural shift there would be in terms of sort of making that more mainstream and opening a dialogue. And I think you see that with other occult trends. I certainly saw it. I mean, I worked in publishing when the Harry Potter books came out, and I worked in occult publishing then, and you were struggling to, get a print run of more than 1,000 books of any of the, authors who'd been writing about witchcraft and the paranormal and the occult. They'd been writing for 30 years, and people were just buying pamphlets here and there, but they were doing it because they believed in it and the love of it. And then suddenly it was like, oh, real life Harry Potter. You can go and buy this book about learning how to, how to make a wand and things like that. And so I saw a shift in that. And to me, it was great because, like, let's be honest, that was my living, acquiring occult books. Great. If more people are buying them, it justifies me acquiring them. It justifies me helping to create them, or finding authors to create them, or creating them myself. So it was like, great. Yeah, we want this to be viable. We told you suckers this stuff was real.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I look at all the times where like for me, Paranormal State was the big one for me when it came out.
Oh, yes.
And then, all of a sudden you go from Paranormal State where they're actually telling a really good story. And then you go to Ghost Hunters where it's like, knock on the wall 3 times, and all of a sudden Did you hear that?
Yeah, except that
You
in the beginning of that show, I feel like there were more weird things that happened. It was like a little bit more subdued. I think if you went back and watched like some of the beginning episodes, but it's always interesting because it's it's fascinating when a person who is not necessarily associated with the paranormal becomes sort of iconic for that, and then they evolve and they kind of I don't know, it's just very interesting, the whole idea of capturing a paranormal investigation. I mean, those of us who've been doing it for a while, we've listened to our fair share of 20 hours of incredibly boring EVP footage, or like audio, just like listening to it, hoping you're going to hear something, and you catch something, and then you got to isolate that. So
Mhm.
certainly from a creative standpoint, just purely from a creative standpoint, the editing of those shows is kind of masterful because they were able to find the best action and actually edit it. One thing I wish that they would have made much clearer from the get-go was how much time they spent filming and how much time goes into those
Yes.
investigations.
And
Because otherwise it becomes a thing like, oh, anyone can do it,
and
It's that whole
but you know what? That's what happened. Is now everybody could think that they're a paranormal investigator, which is great. You know, I but I
it
wish
is great.
people but I wish because I want people to be able to experience anything paranormal or supernatural.
Yes.
No,
That's why I think it's great too, Dave, for that same reason. Yes.
absolutely. But I do believe there is a big difference between a ghost hunter and and an enthusiast. I would call myself an enthusiast.
Mm.
Yes, I've caught EVPs because when I'm out there, like at our local museum or wherever, and if I'm taking part in a ghost thing, I'm purely selfish. I don't care about putting the evidence out there. I just want, oh, did you hear that? Did you see that?
You want something to tap you on the shoulder.
Absolutely,
You need the evidence for your
absolutely
own
I want that.
well-being. You need the evidence. Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, and I think it's great because the one thing that we have seen over time as people are getting scared by doing this, we should also say that it's because of these people's addictions to getting scared and investigating the paranormal that we've seen an influx in technology that has been used to try and detect whether it's phone apps, whether it's old school gear that's been reconfigured or EMF detectors or whatever it may be. I
I
mean,
know
it
I
is
want a spirit box in the worst way, but I just have not brought I can't quite bring myself to spend the money on one, you know? Can I build
I,
one myself?
but you know what? A spirit box does not work for me.
Yeah, I mean, I
Does
don't have one. I've never used a device. I've recorded things occasionally, and I've caught things on film. And actually, one of my favorite experiences I've ever had was staying overnight with it was two of my sisters and my mom and I. So the four of us went and did an overnight at Preston Castle, which is in Ione, California, which is kind of in the foothills, but like this sort of more the southern foothills, um, or midway foothills, and it's this old boys' home, like a boys' reformatory made of brownstone that sits like some sort of it's called a castle. It's called Preston Castle because it looks like a castle, crumbling, falling apart, slowly being restored, has an infirmary, has dorm rooms, has an old library, all those kinds of things, peeling wallpaper. I mean, it is completely and utterly right from the set of a movie, of a horror movie or a story. And I know that there have been other, there's been footage. You can look up Preston Castle and you'll see, I think Ghost Adventures went there and such. But we went there, and what was beautiful about it is at the time, it's been years since I've been there, but at the time, they were actually trying to raise the funds to restore it because it had been sort of preserved, not restored, but preserved. But the top floors, like there was like holes in the roof, and there were like owls and bats swooping in and out of the roof. I'm not exaggerating. This was like, it was really out of a movie. But but all of the people who led the kind of the tours, the overnight paranormal tours, what it was called, or the ghost tour, were all docents. And God bless the docents, right? Because the docents are the ones that are there. They're unpaid. They love the place. They love the history. They spend the most time there. And they probably spend a lot of time alone. And they're the ones that have the experiences. So anytime you go to a museum that's supposed to be haunted, or you're in a ghost story, you go talk to the docent and you ask them, or the security guard, or the janitors. You ask them what they've experienced. You ask them about their, because they've been there, time and time again. But that place, it was one of the most haunted places I've ever been. I want Merle to go there. I think he would just absolutely love it, because I don't think he's been there. I think we talked about it, but it's got this incredible history because it was built in like the turn of the century, it's like 1900s or something. And it was sort of a juvenile hall, but also during the Great Depression, people would leave their sons there because they couldn't afford it. And they sometimes came back from them and sometimes didn't. And so you had this mix of kids. I think the youngest they said was 6 years old and the oldest was 18, all boys. And they were all sort of abandoned. And so the building has this kind of creepy and sad history. And then it also is right up against a big chain link fence with razor wire, because there's an actual penitentiary right there. It's not a federal prison. It's like a, I don't know, minimum security or whatever, but it's right there. And so it's a very strange experience. And there's some really, really creepy things, like a pool in the basement, which was a place that they would dip the kids in like basically bleach water to make sure they didn't have nits and lice and things like that. And that place, I got some photos in that place with like a lot of orbs and very strange things. But anyway, you wander around all night and they say, oh, well, you can sleep. And they give you this room where you can sleep in, but no one wants to sleep, right? You literally wander the halls all night under the supervision of a docent who tells you things and gives you the history. And it's an absolutely amazing place. And then what you pay goes towards the restoration of this place, or the preservation of it, I should say. It's not really being restored, because I don't think that that's really the goal. It's just to keep it from, falling into greater disrepair. So anyway, I think we were just talking about paranormal hunting and things like that. And that was amazing because we were there for such a long period of time, which, maybe doesn't sound that long in the grand scheme of things, but 24 hours in a space that you don't, I think we got there at 6, it was 12 hours straight without sleeping that we were wandering those halls, with a couple hours on either end. So that, there's always like some kind of shift that happens after midnight. And there's just, it was a group of maybe 10 people, including the 4 of us. And by the end of the night, there were only, I think, 6 of us, my family and 2 other people, because other people had laid down, or they just had gotten overwhelmed, or but anyway, just that whole kind of long length of time, it allowed you to just really experience the place in some quietness. And I think that that's what's missing from a lot of those shows, is you don't see all the time in between when your back is aching because you're just sitting against this like dusty old wall, and you're, trying not to move so your sounds don't get misconstrued on the recording device, or, there's some effort put in there that is always behind the scenes.
Very much so. And it's the same thing with when you go out cryptid hunting, or even staring up at the sky for UFOs. There is a magic that goes along with actually taking part in that. There's an excitement. There's a little bit of fear, that little bit of, almost like when a plane takes off and it does that little bounce before it takes off and your stomach goes way up into your throat and back.
Mm.
It's kind of like that when all of a sudden you're seeing things or hearing things that you can't recognize. And I think it's just a thrill that everybody should try. But once again, you got to be careful. You have to be able to know your limits, play within it, and
Yeah.
really have a good time with what you are potentially going to experience. Because the last thing you want is to be taking home any sort of latch on or any sort of hitchhiker that wants to maybe harass you for a while.
No, that's a really good point. And actually, Dave, that is like sort of the other thing that I wish was maybe that's the thing that is the most kind of grates me about some of those shows, is that whether you believe in witchcraft or you believe in the paranormal or you believe in spirits, to enter into a space and not do some kind of acknowledgement of respect for whatever ancestors were there, whatever spirits are there. And like in ancestral magic, you would never walk in and just say, "Hey, grandma, give me this." You wouldn't do that in real life. You would prepare yourselves, you would be respectful, you would enter into, it's a sacred space. If you're asking for an encounter with the other world, you're asking a lot, and you're actually asking to enter into a sacred space. And that's the thing that kind of, that rubs me wrong, when there's not a just a sort of a proper opening and closing of a ceremony, because that is a ceremony. Going into a place that is haunted and doing your ritual, maybe setting up your equipment a certain way, or the kind of discussion that you have. And so I think like that's a thing, not treating the spirit world as a sacred place irritates me. And that is when things chase you. You're going to open a portal and not close it. All right, good luck to you. You might want to bring along a witch next time.
You never know when you're going to need a witch. Do they come in?
Never know. They come in handy.
That's what we need to know. All of a sudden, pull out your pocket witch and, shame on you. Shame on you.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea. It comes, it's like a pop-up witch. It's in like a poison ring, but you can just go like that and it pops up and instantly shines a pentagram on everything.
We are literally making an effort here to get on Dragon's Den right now.
Gonna win.
Oh yes.
But it is true, right? I mean, that is a big for me, I a little bit of a soapbox for me, but as a person who has spent a good many years now really heavily immersed in the paranormal, not just my own experiences, you can't really immerse yourself in your own experiences. They just have to come to you. You don't have a lot of control over that. You can just be open to them and, maybe put yourself in circumstances where you might have an experience, and trust your instincts and, nurture your psychic abilities and all of that. But you can't really, you don't really have a lot of control over that. They come to you when they're willing. And I think as a person that has immersed themselves in the research and the discussions with other people about their paranormal experiences, but also heavily, heavily in folklore and monsters, magical creatures, the fairy kingdom, just really the reverence for that and the natural fear of that is something that sometimes is missing in those situations. And for me, I think it's, they call it a gift because a psychic gift, right? The gift to be able to see things, to be able to. So it is a gift.
When we come back, let's talk a little bit about portals. We never talked about those. Portals next with Varla Ventura. on our cryptid world. How do you open a portal? How do you close one? What's on the other side when we return from this break? Hi, Varla.
I keep coming up with like
Witch.
yeah, Pocket Witch, $1 million idea right there. But
Yep.
the I don't know, like I feel like that it could be the title of something that is not at all what it ends up being, but you know, the psychological benefits of fear or the psychological benefits of being chased by a monster. Doesn't that sound like a wonderful title for like a horror story?
Totally.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
I'm putting you back in the green room. I'm going to
Okay.
disappear for a minute.
Sounds good.
We have 5 minutes. Be right back, people. Be right back. All right. I'm back. Sarah Yawns, how are you?
Thanks.
Not Siri. Excuse me. Jamie Johnson, how are you? All right, where's Varla? There she is. Her old hairstyle. Got it, Pony Pong. Got it, Dizzy. All right. Thank you tonight to W Decker times 2 and T-Bone. W David Page. Thank you for the super chats. Store is open. Travis, how you doing? Thank you. Look at Travis. Look at this. With that new shave, you look like you could play a mean game of curling. Nice. Very nice. Farther, we'll get you to turn your mic on. Sarah, no trolling tonight. Let's go. Here we go.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. How about joining us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio? Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. What the hell is this? The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Taquistoscope. Taquistoscope is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Oh, I don't mean to laugh, but Varla sends me a text message right when I'm reading everything, and I'm like, oh no, is everything okay? And it says, I went to check on the boys. There was a half bag of pretzels in the bathroom waste bin. That is classic boys. Classic boys. If you have sons,
they said we had a spill.
If you have sons, you know exactly what we're talking about. Yeah. My son decided to have a bath a couple weeks ago, and went in there afterwards. And there was like a glass of iced tea and a bag of potato chips that were empty.
Oh, these weren't in the bag. These were just like actual pretzels in the bin.
Oh my.
It was pretty. You know what I felt like? I felt like that is a photo that you could take and just say, like, you know, tell me a story tell me you have a teenage son without telling you have a teenage.
Right. Oh my. Oh my. All right. We're going to get into portals here because you know what? These portals are everywhere.
Yes.
We can't see them. We can't really detect them.
Ooh, we might be able to. We can feel them.
You know, on thermal camera, they have been seen on thermal. Okay. But how does one know if they're in an area of portals?
Well, there are known portals, right? There are known places. Quite a few in Scotland, quite a few throughout the British Isles, quite a few in Ireland that I know of specifically that are acknowledged portals. We know they're portals. They're caves. They're a certain cropping of rocks. There's stone circles. Stonehenge is a portal, right? There's a lot of sort of like known identified portals. Usually that involves some kind of passage into darkness. And sometimes you come out the other side, or sometimes you have to crawl back out the way you got in. But also there are a lot of places where there are, I think, ley lines cross, and that can be a portal. What is a portal? What we're talking about is basically a doorway into, I don't necessarily want to say another dimension, because that makes it sound like, we're going to fall down a rabbit hole and be in a whole other world. It's more of a way that you can sort of enter into the world of the invisible, which coexists with our world all the time. I know that the more common term for that is parallel dimensions. That I feel like doesn't quite nail it. And you know what bothers me about that term? The parallel part. Because it sticks with the idea of time being linear. If something runs parallel, it runs in a straight line parallel to another straight line. That's like the definition of parallel, right? Two lines that run alongside each other or whatever. So that's where I think there's a little bit of a hiccup in our understanding, our collective westernized understanding, I should say, of the concept of time. And so the parallel dimensions doesn't quite gel with me, because while I do think things are layered and coexisting, I don't think they're linear. And I think we've all experienced non-linear time on a regular basis, and we're left wondering if we had a supernatural experience, or if we were, taken off planet, and all these kinds of things, because we're experiencing something kind of out of sequence, and our brains have been trained to track time in a linear fashion, from by the second, by the minute, by the hour, by the day, by the calendar year. That's how we're tracking things, this progression of time. And so we're not necessarily looking at it in a more rounded point of view. So that's my problem with the parallel part of that. But the parallel meaning happening at the same time, I'm totally down with, because I think those things are around us all the time. And so when you have the gift, which like you, Dave, I think anyone can have that gift. Some people have it naturally, and it's more easily cultivated. But I think that, anyone can really enhance their own natural psychic abilities. But that's how you know if you're in a portal, because you see something. It's nearby. If you see something, you have a ghostly encounter, or you see a little creature that looks like a little bit of bark crossing your path in the woods, trust me, there's a portal nearby. It might not be right in front of you, but it's nearby, because it's a crossing where your natural vision and your supernatural vision kind of overlap. There are rituals to invoke portals and to sort of open up portals. There's a lot of magic that you can do with ancestors and working with the dead. I highly recommend, if that's something you're interested in, reading Christian Day's book, The Witch's Book of the Dead, because it really talks a lot about the history of this kind of magic, and also encourages you to do it in a very responsible way. Because as we were talking about earlier, when you're interacting with the spirit world, whatever that other realm is, however you want to define it, if it's a cryptid realm, the fairy realm, the other world, in the Celtic lexicon, it's just the other world, right? It's where all of those creatures live. Or if you're entering into the land of the dead, which is a sacred land in all cultures, right? I don't know a culture that doesn't think of the land of the dead as anything other than sacred, including, westernized Christian culture. It's heaven, the cemetery, it's consecrated ground, all of that stuff, right? So when you're entering into deliberately making contact and deliberately working with those realms, you go about it in a responsible fashion. And part of that includes how you protect yourself and others in the room, and how you address the dead. And even going back to spiritualism, when people would do these paranormal parlor games, that they would sit around and do seances, that was a ritual. And it wasn't just like everybody sat down and, put their hands on the planchette. That's not what happened at all. It was a ritual. Candles were lit, certain words were spoken. It was closed at the end as well. And that's like the crux of like every seance gone wrong in every Hollywood movie and horror story, is when the portal wasn't closed because somebody broke the seal and then they just ran off and something attached itself.
With portals, what do you think's on the other side? And the reason why I ask this is Jessica Jones, our cryptid huntress around here, she actually had one of her teammates a couple of years ago in an investigation. They actually picked up a portal on thermal camera, and two of their members actually walked into the portal, and they said on the other side it was very desolate. It was like nothing growing, everything dead, very bland, you know, nothing like when they walked out of the portal where there's trees and fauna and flora everywhere.
Interesting.
What do you think's there?
Well, if you look at just looking back at sort of the traditional idea of entering into the fairy realm, possibly by accident, sort of tripping into a portal, falling asleep on a fairy mound, which you're never supposed to do, by the way. And you wake up and actually everything's gorgeous. It's beautiful. There's, lovely maidens offering you, goblets of wine, and there's dancing and laughing and merrymaking. You've entered into this other realm. But once you're there for a while, especially, you've been warned not to eat or drink anything because it kind of marries you to that world. Once you're there, the glamour starts to wear off. So think of like the beginning of a party. You just arrive, maybe you have a little glass of champagne and everything, and there's laughter and everything's going great. And, it's 10 o'clock at night, and then it's 11, then it's midnight, and laughter, hilarious. And then it gets to be like 3, 4 in the morning. Everyone's makeup is smeared, there's cigarette butts everywhere. The glamour starts to wear off. And that's when you do start to see what that realm is really like. So there's an enchantment within, I think it's probably different if you are of that realm, but there's an enchantment, and that's part of the idea of going through a portal. You're probably going somewhere that you're not meant to be. And so going in there with, the wrong intentions or sort of obliviousness or being tricked, that's the thing. You get tricked all the time. Mermaids trick you into coming out into the sea. Fairy queens trick you into coming to be their long lost love. Changelings are children that are stolen and taken through these portals. And to our eyes, there's at first this very glamorous, beautiful experience, just long enough for us to stay. And then it becomes sort of like the party guest that stayed too long. Everything sort of fades and isn't as glamorous. And I think that the reason that is sort of portrayed in that way is as a warning. It's a warning that when you enter unknowingly into this realm that you know nothing about really, because you're not of that kingdom, that you can come to great harm should you choose to stay. That's one idea of going through the portal and sort of like, innocently thinking it's going to be great. Now, again and again in those accounts, especially when someone narrowly escapes, it's kind of about the intention. often there's sort of like a greedy, slightly lazy man involved that just kind of wants like a quick fix and a beautiful bride as fast as possible, and maybe a nice apple, you know? So those
I
things.
you're going to say nice apple there for a second.
A nice apple or two. But those kinds of themes happen a lot. Then you have the idea of going into a portal deliberately in order to either rescue someone who's there or seek help of the other realm in order to save or better your village, your group, your people, right? That's the kind of the hero's quest. And that's another reason that people will enter into this other realm very deliberately. Now, that's a totally different experience. When you enter into it deliberately, you have a natural fear. You're going up against that fear because you know it's your best bet to get the outcome that you want, and then you sort of go into it with the idea in mind that you're going to sort of respect and hopefully get back out. And you see this again and again in all kinds of mythology. You see it in Inanna and the Seven Veils, where she goes down into all of these different realms, trying to rescue her. I think she's rescuing her sister. You see all of these kind of repeated ideas of going into another world, into another realm, but you're seeking the wisdom of the guardian of that realm to help you and to bring something back, such as strength for your warriors or the solution to a problem so that you can, defeat the neighboring clan or whatever it is. So that's a different approach to a portal, which often is met with success. So you kind of have the like two, it's like the quick fix, there's the moral in the story there. And then you have the accidental portal. And that's the that's the sort of the fool, right? Now, the fool in the deck of the tarot is depicted as a person about to embark on a journey. And when we hear fool, we think, the idiot, right? Everybody knows the fool is the wisest one. The fool is the one that can whisper in the king's ear, and the only one that the king will actually listen to, because it's just a fool, so they can dismiss them. And so you have that sort of accidental, and that is kind of my personal favorite of like portal entrance is the accidental. That's the guy walking home from the pub at night that the Pooka comes along and just sort of like terrorizes him and throws him on the back of the black horse with the glowing red eyes and takes him to the edge of the cliff until they have to reevaluate their life and start over again because they realize they've made a huge mistake by walking on that path, but really probably staying too late at the pub, right? Not getting up early, always staying too late at the pub. So, but that's another recurring theme with portals is those like accidental portal. And I think that many of us who have those surprise paranormal encounters, which I think the majority of paranormal encounters take us by surprise. We frequently aren't expecting them, right? We don't actually acknowledge that they're happening at that moment because we don't always know that we're kind of, our rational brain is kicking in. And that's when little things kind of slip through. And those are the times when I think there's a message for us. And maybe that's like the spiritualist in me, but the idea that there's something to learn from that, whatever it is, and that it's a huge gift to be able to, even if it scares you to death, the fact that you can see this other thing that other people can't see, or that you ran into this creature, or that you caught a glimpse of this thing that otherwise should be forbidden to you, is a huge gift. I mean, I think I'm very flattered when things like that happen, because I feel like I'm on to something, and I saw something that I wasn't supposed to see, and yet I was trusted to see it, and I was trusted with that knowledge to do, something with it. Not going to say something positive. It could be something very wicked, but you still had you got that little glimpse. And I always feel very privileged in those situations to have seen it, whatever it is. So going back to what we were talking about with, like, filming a show or whatever, not only are you completely left out of the ritual, because I had nothing against paranormal investigations, but not only are you left out of the sort of ritual aspect of the beginning, the middle, and the end, but you also, you just sort of, you miss out on the point of it. It's not to entertain the masses, right? It's for the individual to reevaluate their own deal in the universe, I think. I don't know. You get me talking about portals, and who knows where we'll go. I think we just went through a portal, Dave. Pull me back.
I think you did go through a portal there. What kind of creatures are said to come out of portals?
Well, so I would say anything. Fairy creatures are the ones that come through the portals most frequently. And I have a very wide and loose definition of fairies. I think I'll just visit that really quickly here. When I say fairies, I'm not talking about little gossamer winged creatures that just land on a flower and flit about. I'm talking about the kingdom of the Fae, which is a great and powerful and very terrifying kingdom in which you could probably classify every cryptid ever known to any human being within that kingdom. Now, when you say fairy, you're sort of thinking, you're kind of talking specifically about the Celtic lexicon. But the equivalent exists in all cultures around the world of this other realm, whether it's little people or good people or wise creatures or forest creatures, whatever the name is. It's this other realm. Cryptids is probably the most common term that we use now. And they all sort of exist to... they're basically, they all live in that other realm. So I think that I just want to make that clear. So when I say fairies, I frequently am talking about Celtic mythology, because that's what I've studied the most of, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's something sweet. It could be a Pooka, it could be a mermaid. They belong in the fairy kingdom. So that's sort of that other world. And I lack the vocabulary to really give it a global term, right? We try with cryptids, doesn't quite land for me. Fairies, it lands in certain parts of the world, but doesn't completely encompass it in others. But there is an other world. There is and spirit world isn't quite even the right thing either, because it's somewhere in between a spirit world and a domestic world. But in any case, when I say that, I'm sort of referring to this grand place where all manner of beasts and creatures and ghoulies and goblins and all kinds of things live. Sometimes ghosts are lumped in there, but I kind of think ghosts are of their own. They kind of do their own thing, but nonetheless, they all operate in the same portal. It's the same door they come through.
Well, we got under a minute
in my
to go
basement.
And we know you have a portal in your basement, but I guess that's just the way it is.
I
sometimes.
wish.
Would you go in?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, of course I would. Absolutely.
I'd be like James Earl Jones in Field of Dreams, where he's kind of peeking through the corn to see if there's anything there. I'd be taking my time.
I was going to say tie a rope around my waist and just let me go and then pull me back if, anything happens.
When we come back, we got a bunch of audience questions for you. They're all over the map, but really good.
Like me.
Yeah. Varla Ventura continues on Spaced Out Radio right after this break. You can find all of her books at any major bookstore or online at varlaventura.net. Spaced Out Radio's Our Cryptid World happens once a month with Varla. And we love it when she's here because she's always so much fun. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. We'll be right back. Hold on, I have to wave to one of my favorite people. Hi, Pauline Byrne. Hi, Pauline Byrne. You know, the best part about it is I know Pauline's waving back.
Yeah, I know, right? I love that.
Yeah.
I remember when people first kind of started transitioning to using like StreamYard or other formats, but we're still just only doing, they were recording and you'd talk to them on video, but they just do the audio recording. And I got on and I waved. They're like, you can't wave in radio.
You can't. See, there's Pauline right there. Hey, sweets. Yes. I'm sure Dr. Filzy's in bed, sleeping away. That's awesome.
It's going to be a fun year, Dave.
It's going to be a very, very fun year.
Mm-hmm.
Very fun year.
I think so. Full of magic, mischief, creativity.
Mm-hmm. I get
Hopefully
it.
Some accomplishments.
I get it. I hear you. I hear ye. I think we got to bring back a lot of the old words like ye, like
Hear
I
ye.
hear ye. You know, and
God, I haven't been to a Renaissance fair since I was like probably a teenager, and I want to go to one so bad. I feel like I just need to be around all the medieval nerds. I need it. My soul needs it.
see, there's that's Pauline right here. I don't know why it says Facebook user, but I'm waving, and yes, he is sound asleep.
I know why that happens, actually. I was on another show where she used StreamYard, and she said what happens if you have to give Facebook permission to use your profile when you log into whatever it is that people log into to chat in this format. And if you don't, you just pop up as Facebook user.
I got you.
Yeah.
I guess that's the case.
I like that. That's a little bit of like sound, like instead of sound asleep, it's sound of sleep, which I feel like is a really good invocation for you specifically, Dave, based on the information you gave us earlier. Sound of sleep. I like that. That's nice. Mm-hmm.
Thank you to Joe for the picture of Lubla. I love that dog. Love that dog. Awesomeness.
It's fun, Dave.
Yes. We like to have fun here.
Yeah, we're good at having fun. Kind of the best.
That's what we do here.
Yeah. Are you so excited about Reno? Reno is a really. Have you been to Reno before?
I haven't been to Reno since like 2010.
Yeah, it's actually probably changed quite a bit for the better. I'm gonna say for the better.
We'll see.
Yeah, I think it's changed for the better.
I just wish you could come.
I know, but I'm not coming. I'm so sorry because I absolutely love that town and very close to where I grew up. Yeah, well, you'll have to weigh and decide. Like, what do you like? Do you like Vegas better, or do you like Reno better? Like, you'll see how it goes. And
yeah,
yeah. Not only is that Mother's Day weekend, but also my mother turns 80 that week, the following week, and I am taking her to Hawaii for her 80th birthday. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah. Yep. I'm very excited about that. That'll be a fun one.
That would be fun.
Yeah. I told her my goal is for her to I want her to turn 80. I have to remember what time she was born, but I want her to turn 80 on the beach.
I love it.
I know, right?
Love it.
Yeah, my kid better do the same for me when I turn 80, right? Or take me
No
somewhere
kidding.
awesome. It doesn't need to be Hawaii. In fact, I'm kind of obsessed with this I don't know, there's a couple of like really obscure islands in the Caribbean that have a lot of pirate
Mm.
history that I wouldn't mind being whisked off to.
Give me one moment here. Thank you to T-Bone ×2, W Decker ×2, and W David Page for the lovely super chats. It's a wonderful way to support what we do, guys. So thank you very, very much. I greatly appreciate it. And don't forget, you can shop at spacedoutradio.com. We do not have ugly swag, people. Nothing ugly there. So go shopping today. Here we go, everyone. Here we go with the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate you tuning us on in. Reminder to all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. All right, Varla Ventura, we have her till the top of the hour, and we're going to take some audience questions for you, Varla, as Varla's website is varlaventura.net. She's here once a month for our Crypted World, and you can find their books on any major bookstore or online at her website. Ready, Varla? You ready for audience questions?
I am. I love audience questions. I love them. So yes, I'm ready.
Let's start off with Nikki, who's pretty new around here. She's new around these parts, so she'll learn to put her questions in capital letters sometime.
Cutie.
She says, I'm new to hanging out here, but wondering, what do you know about the Jersey Devil?
Oh, that Jersey Devil is a wonderful monster because it's sort of it's sort of newer in the modern lexicon, but it actually has its roots in, time immemorial. The indigenous people of that area have accounts of a bird-like creature or a deer-like creature with leathery wings, or sort of a hybrid creature. But it's always some kind of like crazy winged thing. And I believe it was correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, but I believe it was in the 1920s when people started seeing the Jersey Devil again. And by people, I mean, people that were living there and were reporting it to the papers. And so there's a number of accounts of this sort of hybrid creature with big wings that appears. And that's I shouldn't say he, we don't know. But the Jersey could very well be a female protecting her nest. It's probably more likely. But the Jersey Devil is probably not a devil at all, or even a demon. It's known to chase people. And actually, kind of along those lines, Dave, I was thinking about the idea of monsters chasing you. And like I was kind of saying to you earlier, I feel like a lot of the times some monster, kind of whatever monster it is, will sort of like saunter or casually creep behind you, occasionally leap out and frighten you away. But the full-on running chase is reserved for like extreme moments. And I often think of that as being like a territorial thing. So chasing you off from something. So when I sort of make the joke about it protecting a nest or whatever, I think that's frequently could well be the root of many of these encounters, including Bigfoot, right? It's like, get away from my babies. I will take you down with this tree I just uprooted.
Just smack them around. Yeah. Pull a tree out of the ground.
I told you, get away from my babies. I can complain about their pretzel spilling, but you can't.
All right. Blades is wondering if you have any stories on the Fresno night crawlers.
I don't have any personal stories. I've heard of the Fresno night crawlers. They've come up on Coast to Coast frequently. Definitely kind of freaky, but I don't really know too much about them myself. They're just, I've just done a little, I've kind of heard about them on shows, people calling in. There is one person I know that grew up in that area that said they had a real strange encounter. Late at night walking home from school, like practice or something like that, and walking home. But it was a sort of a shadowy cryptid type creature, but it was a very, very vague description. So I don't know too much. But Fresno, if you've ever been there, no offense to anyone who lives in Fresno, but Fresno's it's a little creepy. Kind of a creepy place.
I agree. All right. Pony Pong wants to know, you mentioned making them. Any tips? Is rosewood any good? I forget.
Making wands. Yes. I don't know how well rosewood would hold up. It might be a little too soft, a little too flimsy. Usually want your wand to be made of something much stronger, like oak or ebony. My best recommendation, so the wands that I have one wand by a wand maker who I will recommend her book in a second here. That's my favorite book. I've learned the most. It's full of plant lore and wand magic. It's called The Witch's Book of Wand. It's by Gypsy Elaine Teague, and I just love that book. And it talks about all the different woods and all the different things that you would add to a wand for different powers and things like that. But my favorite wands that I have are the ones that I found. And so I think, you kind of know what you're looking for when it comes to a wand, about what length. And I've found them of varying woods. And I also have an iron wand, which may not be a real popular idea, but I do have a big old iron wand. I can't explain how I got it. You'll just have to take my word for it that I need it occasionally. So my tip for making wands, read that book. She is full of really, really deep insight, and kind of just keep your eyes out. But I think, wand making is very instinctive. And remember, wands are powerful because they're symbolic. They're you holding something between the natural world and the supernatural world. And they're really kind of used in the same way a pen is used. They're used to sort of, take something that's invisible and make it real. So my favorite wand is actually a glass pen, like a pen and ink type pen. And I use that all the time for scrawling things into candles and writing secret messages and things like that. But I'm a writer, so that's my superpower. So everyone has their own.
I get that. I think that's awesome. Okay, let's continue on here. Let's go to Dizzy Reed. Have you ever heard of a class system for earthbound ghosts, like a class 3 apparition or whatever?
No. I have heard of ghosts being certainly ghosts being classified, not ascribed numbers, like, oh, this one's like stronger, so it's a 1, and this one's weaker, so it's a 3. I've never heard of that. Maybe somebody else has, but I have heard of a class system in sort of more of the maybe more known idea of, like, okay, this is a poltergeist, this is an angry ghost, this is a hungry ghost, this is a shadow person, like in that kind of way, that sort of class bound system. But I've never heard of, like, I've never numbered them myself. So I might be like a paranormal investigation thing. I don't know if anybody knows that or has done that, like, write in and say, because have you ever heard of that, Dave?
Yeah.
Class 3?
I
I kind of like it. It kind of is like, yeah, you're that was just a class 2 apparition. It feels very Ghostbusters,
Totally.
I like that. Yeah.
I do. I can appreciate that.
Mhm.
That's for sure. That's for sure. Okay, let's continue on here with another one from Dizzy Reed. Varla, have you encountered fae folk during investigations? And are there some types of fae that people call cryptids?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I kind of touched on that earlier, so we're on the same wavelength here. I think a lot of what we call cryptids are part of that fairy kingdom, and a lot of what we call fairy kingdom are cryptids. I think we have different words for a lot of the same terminology. And, you know, Dave, you and I have talked about that on repeatedly about we're using different terms, but people were having these experiences not just 50 years ago or 100 years ago, but 1,000 years ago. They're having these experiences. The record of them, the written record and the translation, they're called different things, but they kind of have a lot of similarities. So yes, I think that a lot of what people might think of as cryptids belong to that lexicon of the other world. And I am not, believe it or not, I'm not a huge investigator when it comes to cryptids, and maybe not in like the traditional sense, like certainly not like Jessica, who goes out and actually, goes on investigations where she is specifically, setting up equipment and things like that. My encounters have, again, mostly been accidental. Surprise encounters, but sometimes I will certainly investigate in that. My approach to investigations is usually more about going to a place and experiencing that place, and then seeing if I have an experience in that place. So I'll do that with usually alone or with a small, intimate group of people. And again, there's usually a ritual involved in that. And yes, I have absolutely encountered things that, I'm not quite sure how to classify them. So I put them in the fairy bucket for sure. And then actually I have this, I still don't really know how to explain this, but this may have been what set me on the path that I'm on. But when I was really young, I was 6 or 7 years old, I saw a leprechaun, or I certainly saw a little person. And I saw it in the forest by a creek. And I remember looking at it, being completely dumbfounded that I saw it, and turning to yell for my mom and my sister to come look, because how exciting. And turning back, and of course screaming, like, it ran off. But where it had been, the leaf was moving, like it was kind of this umbrella plant. So it was sort of underneath that. And so that leaf was moving. So whatever it was that was under there had, shaken the leaf in its while it exited. So that's actually one of my earlier memories. And I think I still have yet to explain what that was and completely reconcile that in my mind, of like really fully accepting that what I saw was, I know, me of all people, but that really truly was a leprechaun or something. But that's what I thought it was at the time. And I'm sure that there are lots of little things like that out in the forest. But I think because I was quietly playing by a creek and just sort of being one with the forest and playing with my little toy horse or whatever in the rapids.
Yeah.
That's when, so to me, to investigate is to visit the place and, respectfully see if anything comes to you. But I think it just has never worked for me to go after it. It just has never worked for me, but works for others with a lot of evidence.
That's what I say about ghost gear too. I've tested out about ghost gear a number of times, like the voice box. I don't get a thing. My friend Bill Hauser goes on there. This thing turns into, some sort of ticker tape newsreel. The thing's speaking so much. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's funny. It is funny how some people seem to trigger those devices and things too, right? Yeah.
Let's go to Dizzy again. How do we protect ourselves spiritually from dangerous cryptids?
Well, I think that intention has so much to do with it, and that's been a little bit of a theme tonight, right, Dave? Like how we go about these sorts of investigations and explorations. And I'm not going to say there aren't things that'll just like, grab you and pull you into the bog, because we all know there are. But I think that one of the best things you can do is just have a mindfulness. And if you are going to enter into a territory or a situation where you might be invoking something, there's a lot of easy things you can do to protect yourself. I mean, the salt circle's kind of the number one. However, if you are trying to connect with fairies, they don't really do well with salt, so they can kind of repel. It can kind of repel them. So something to take into account. I think having your wits about you. You never want to go into a situation like that inebriated in any way. That's the number one theme in all of Irish folklore, is the drunk who falls asleep on the fairy mound, or stumbles down the road. Don't do it. They'll prey on you. They know.
Stay right away.
They know you got one foot in each world, But
yes.
but it's true. And there's a time and a place for those kinds of rituals. But frequently, just sort of stumbling about the woods is not it.
All right, let's move on here. We got about 8 minutes to go. And our next question comes from Vanessa. Can you lead a seance?
You mean, could I personally? Yes, of course. I mean, you could too. Anyone really could. But yeah, I mean, I absolutely, I could. Yeah, I could. I have. Usually I just kind of do my own. I know I'm like this is very unpopular, but I'm a little bit of a Ouija board soloist. So I like to do a lot of ritual by myself. I just, I don't know. Some of it comes down to really truly trusting the intentions of other people in the room and wanting to make sure that what I am trying to get out of it, I get out of it. But yeah, and you can learn how to lead a seance as well. One of the best ways is by attending one by a respected individual. Go to Salem in October and you'll find plenty to learn from. But if that's an invitation, I'm going to say yes, I'll accept that invitation.
All right. Well, let's get to a question from Scott here. Have you had any real life experiences with these creatures?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what got me here in the first place, really. Yeah. I've probably had more what I would qualify as paranormal encounters. I've had sort of endless ghosty, strange experiences since I was a child. So I've had more of those and more consistently and more prominently. But I have had encounters with a few things that I can't quite explain, that I wouldn't quantify as a ghost. I've seen some strange things, often out of the corner of my eyes. But I have had a few, not a ton, but a few. I would say, less than half a dozen. What you might call, Dave, a cryptid encounter, but I would call like an experience with a thing that I can't call a ghost, basically. Yeah.
Okay. And let us go to his second question. Do you think ghosts have free will?
Oh, that's a wonderful question. I don't know. I think about these kinds of things all the time, though. I really do. I think about, are ghosts here? Are they here passing a message on to us? Because if you subscribe to tenets of spiritualism, which is, where the popularity of the seance kind of bloomed, then yes, they are trying to get a message across to us. Or is it a time slip? And are we just seeing something that's actually happening somewhere else and we think it's a ghost? Are we seeing a person at a different stage in their life and we're overlapping in a different way? Are we really seeing the ghost of a loved one? What happens after you die? Do they come back and visit us? And why do they come back? I mean, all of those things. And that's the great pursuit. That's why everybody tunes into this show, right? To try and try and kind of like put some kind of or get some kind of understanding, which is an ever evolving understanding. I love the idea of ghosts having free will. I hope that when I'm a ghost, I have free will and I can go wherever I want and scare anyone I want, anytime I want, and snuggle up with anyone I want. And, I love that idea. And I think that I think there's the romantic in me that likes to think that ghosts come to us when we need them, especially if we're talking about like the ghost of a deceased loved one. They come to us and they visit us when we need to know. But then I also kind of think some ghosts might just be like people stuck in a loop, and they're just hoping anyone hears them. There's such a diverse array of humans and how we think of things and how we view the world. I can't imagine that ghosts are all the same.
I don't think so either. I mean, I've had some weird experiences with ghosts showing up when you wouldn't expect them and deciding not to leave because you're blocking their walking trail or whatever it may be, I mean, there's so many different options and angles. We got 3 minutes to go here, and we've had such a blast with you again. Really have. What kind of stories are you looking forward to hearing or learning about from like people from the audience or wherever you gain your research in 2024?
Oh, so I have 2 themes for 2024. My 2 themes are patience and magic. Those are my themes. And so I love people. I love when people feel comfortable enough with me to tell me about a really authentic experience that they've had. I think it's validating for them. It's validating for me. It's why we like shows like this. It's why we read books about, hauntings and cryptids. So I think the patience element is to have the patience to let those experiences come to you and to have patience with others, because sometimes, it takes a while to break down those barriers and actually have an authentic experience with someone. And also sometimes people are really annoying. And so, the patience part is also patience with myself. So it's kind of my, my 2024 theme. But I'm really looking forward to finishing my book and being able to not fret about that so much. But at the same time, I almost don't want it to be over because I'm in the thick of it right now, and it's a very magical experience. I love other people. I love stories. I love other people telling me, the experiences that they've had. One thing I really want to do in 2024 is go to, and you should look it up if you haven't heard of this town, but I really want to I want to go with my dad to Bodie. Bodie, California is a ghost town that is still relatively preserved. And I want to go there because I feel like there's something there. It's been calling us for the last few years, and I feel like there's really something there.
You got to go. You have to go.
Yeah. Yeah, I've never been. Never been there.
Weird. Very, very weird. Varla, tell everybody where they can find your books.
You can find my books anywhere books are sold. You can go to your brick and mortar local indie bookstore. You can go to the library, but you can also go to Amazon, barnesandnoble.com, all of those places, bookshop.org, which supports local indie bookstores. And they all carry my books. I think they're all in print miraculously. So yeah, they're all there. Order them, enjoy them. Don't tell me if you don't like them. I don't read the comments.
VarlaVentura.net is her website. We love it when Varla's here. We'll see her next month. Coming up in hour 3, Steve Stockton kicks things off. Then Robin Haynes is here for the Crypted Report, followed up by the Dave 101 and the weird news of the week. Spaced Out Radio continues after this. You are lovely.
That
Good
was
job.
so fun. That was particularly fun, wasn't it?
I
Sort
thought
of
it
silly
was.
and enjoyable. I enjoyed myself. I have a question for you about next month, but I'll text it to you. We don't need to talk about it now.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Sounds good. All
Thanks,
right, my
Dave.
friend.
I appreciate the support.
You take
And
care. Okay?
I'm thinking of you. Okay, you can do
I
it.
hope so.
You
No worries.
you can
We're
do
gonna
it.
do it.
Yeah.
All right, buddy.
Are you gonna quit smoking?
Who smokes? I
None
don't.
of us. That's so 2023.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Varla Ventura, everyone. VarlaVentura.net, her website. All right. There she goes. I'll be right back, everybody. All right. We got Robin Haynes in the background. It's only -2 here. Let's see. Let us see where we are. Thank you, Deb, for that lovely super chat. Steve Romo, I apologize. I didn't get to your question. It's my fault. And anything else? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Thank you to our super chatters, Deb, W. David Page, T-Bone ×2, and W. Decker ×2. Very much appreciate the love and support, everybody. So thank you. Don't forget to shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. No ugly swag. You actually can wear our stuff out in public and be proud of it. So make sure you check it on out. And yeah, I think that's about it. Yeah, what do you say we do hour 3 here? Let's go for it.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. You can join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Takistoscope. Takistoscope is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. It is that time of the night where we say hello to Steve Stockton from Among the Missing and another creepy story.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Among the Missing YouTube channel on Spaced Out Radio. I'm Steve Stockton, and I'm about to take you on an unbelievable journey of people just like you. Their stories and encounters will haunt us on Among the Missing. Sabrina Bree Kaler was a 20-year-old woman known for her loving and caring nature. Despite having a mild disability that left her with the mental capacity of a 14-year-old, Bree was excelling in life. However, her condition often made her more trusting and naive than others her age, and in 2002, she went missing under mysterious circumstances. On June 24, 2002, Bree left her home in Erie County, Pennsylvania, and entered 26-year-old David Sherman Heck's red and black Ford Bronco. She wore a bathing suit, shorts, and gym shoes, and said she'd return by 4 p.m. that afternoon. David was a friend of Bree's live-in boyfriend, and due to her disability, she was incredibly trusting even toward those she barely knew. David and Sabrina drove to a local swimming hole at Eagley Park, where several witnesses saw them. The pair swam briefly, but their peaceful day was disrupted when David's ex-girlfriend arrived. As per news reports, David had a heated argument with his ex-girlfriend, whose name has not been given. The dispute between the two had been ongoing, and they even fought the previous day. David and Bree left the swimming spot to avoid further trouble, and went to the Tasty Twist ice cream stand. There, David contacted the local authorities to report the altercation with his ex-girlfriend. The official reports state that a state trooper arrived at the location and took them back to the swimming spot to settle the matter. David and his ex-girlfriend finally agreed to leave each other alone. However, what happened to Bree after this incident is still a mystery, as she has not been seen or heard from since. Witnesses reported seeing Bree and David at the swimming hole earlier that day, and the state trooper remembers escorting them back. According to David, after resolving the matter with his ex-girlfriend, he drove Bree to the West Erie Plaza movie theater so she could watch a movie. David said they were going home, but Bree wanted to watch a movie, so he gave her money for the film and a ride home. However, there is no record of Bree entering the cinema, and investigators doubt whether she even made it to the plaza. Investigators have considered David a suspect in her disappearance from day one, but there has never been enough evidence to implicate him. Bree may have been spotted in the Elk Creek access area on June 24, 2002, although this witness report has never been substantiated. After Bree disappeared, David was arrested and charged with burglary. In 2009, Bree's parents made the heartbreaking decision to have her declared deceased in absentia and hope that one day her case will be solved. Bree's sister said, "Her blue eyes were so bright and full of life, and I'm afraid that this man has taken that away from her, but we have no proof. Bree would have called by now. She would have certainly contacted my mother or brother Scott." Sabrina Bree May Kaler is described as a Caucasian female with dark blonde hair and blue eyes, 5'1" to 5'3" tall, and 125 to 135 pounds. One of her ears is pierced, and she has braces. She was last seen wearing a two-piece bathing suit, a pink or red top, blue shorts, and white sneakers. Anyone with any information regarding Bree's disappearance or whereabouts is asked to contact the Erie, Pennsylvania Police Department, 814-870-1125, and reference case number 022-3863.
Thank you, Steve Stockton from Among the Missing on YouTube for another spooky missing person story. Some of them suck, don't they? Not the quality, not Steve doing it, but just you're like, damn it, let's find some of these people. Let's find them. You can listen to more stories of people just mysteriously vanishing by going to Among the Missing on YouTube and hitting subscribe and listening for free. From the missing to the mysterious, here comes the ever-laughing Robin Haynes and the Crypted Report. Robin Haynes, always smiling, always laughing. Here,
but I love it with you. You make me smile. I always feel good when I'm here, so it works.
I am glad, because it is that time of the year where, things are gently starting to warm up here. They are.
Do you know it was 80 degrees here today? Like, this is insanity. It was 80 degrees here today. I'm out on the porch right now and it's 68 degrees at 2 in the morning. Like, what in the world is with that?
I'd be in shorts.
I'm telling you, like, the only reason it's chilly out here is it's really windy and it's damp because we've had 2 days worth of rain. I can't believe it. Like, the weather, you don't have to put a jacket on. I mean, I have one on tonight just because of the dampness, but it's crazy. Now, 3 days ago, it was so cold that you couldn't stand it. So it's absolutely crazy.
Seriously crazy. Seriously.
I know.
And you're in South Carolina?
For now. I'm moving. So I'm in South Carolina for now. You never know where I'm going to turn up.
Well, is Michigan off the plate, or are you moving west?
It actually is off the plate. I had always intended to go back there. I'm a Michigan girl at heart. I've got a lot of cryptids for me back in Michigan, as well as the ET stuff. But it actually is off the plate. There's been a turn of events, and it looks like I'm going to be more centralized in the U.S. I've got clients and people that I work with everywhere. So I am kind of going towards the middle states, and then I'll be there for a while and work with some of the cryptids there, and it's easier for me to get to all my different people. So I'm going to give it a try. Never thought you'd find me over that way, but that's where I'm headed.
Good. So you're heading to Colorado.
No, I'm actually going to end up in the middle of Texas, which I cannot believe I'm saying that because I really don't ever go that way. But it's not a state I ever thought I would ever want to be in. You know, I've only been there one time in my life, and I was down by Sweeney, down by the coast, and that's where I got bluff charged at. They were going after the guy's grandkids, and I went between the Sasquatch and the grandkids, and it bluff charged me, which was fine. It kept it away from the kids. But yeah, for now, who knows where I'll end up? Goodness sakes. For the woman that never travels or goes anywhere, I keep ending up in all these bizarre places.
I love it.
So, and I've got several friends there. And then I've got friends in Louisiana and Nebraska, and you're going to be there for the Nebraska Bigfoot Conference. I cannot wait. I'm so excited to give you a giant hug. It's really turning out. And I want to say too, we've got another new member. And he's not new. He was actually scheduled. I forgot I had him scheduled. It's a friend of mine, Christian McLeod, he goes by the Crypted guy. Huge amount of information. He's going to connect the biblical side with the Sasquatch, which is going to be really phenomenal. And he's an awful lot of fun. So he'll be there with us. Lane Tyler is going to be there, and his wife Lisa will be there. We've got a really good roster. Robert Kreider, really good roster. So I'm really excited about it. First time in Grand Island for us because we got asked to pair up with the Tourism Bureau. So I think it's going to be a lot bigger than we anticipated. I've had to increase the size of the room twice already.
Nice.
And then we've got the Georgia Bigfoot Conference in Dillard, Georgia is the 15th and 16th of March. And that's looking to be just as good. Ron Moorhead will be there. I'll be there. Christian will be there. My friend Chris Chasen's going to be there. So we've got a lot of good people at that one too. So it's going to be fun.
I think I'm going to sneak into the Nebraska conference. My good friend Jessica Jones.
Okay.
I think I'm going to bring her up there just to hang out with us and talk some Bigfoot. I still don't know what I'm going to talk about at your event, but I'm looking forward to it.
Well, yeah. I mean, talk about your experiences. You've got some great stuff that you've done there. You have had a great contact. That one night that you saw that one was phenomenal. Since I've known you, you've just expanded on the amount of knowledge you have about them.
I know it's your fault.
Talk. My fault. Talk about the show. I mean, it's phenomenal. You reach a lot of people. You help a lot of people. What better thing is there?
All right. I'll figure something out.
You're going to be awesome.
Oh, I know.
And I've got a table reserved for you. So if you want to sell any swag or anything, you can even ship it ahead. So you don't have to worry about taking it on the plane. And if you want that table, then you've got it because all of our speakers are automatically given a vendor table.
All right. Perfect.
So everybody come see Dave.
All right. With things starting to thaw out, Robin.
Yeah.
Prematurely, shall we say.
Prematurely. Definitely.
Yeah. I got to ask you, how does the season start for the Sasquatch when things start to thaw out? And
they get really active. You get it right in between that hot and cold spot, so it's really comfortable for them. And by the time that the spring starts hitting, although this is premature, they're ready to start getting out and getting more food because we've talked before about how they stockpile food, and they really do, like massive amounts of it. They'll still hunt in the winter. It's not that they won't, but food's scarce. So they've got that all stockpiled to get them through. So when that weather starts thawing, they're out there front and center because they want to get on top of that food. Another thing people don't realize is they will plant and grow food. They absolutely will do it. In the weirdest spots, you'll find all these different plants. I mean, you're not going to see like 3 or 4 acres or something, like we would do, but they will plant different various things. And, of course, they love it when people are going they steal from the gardens anyway. They don't take everything, but they do take some. And you get these cornfields, and the cornfields are massive. They get down those cornfields and they'll do the belly crawl or whatever. You can't even tell they're there till you're up on top of them. And they go in and they take an ear here and an ear there or whatever. So the farmers don't really notice it. It's not missed a lot. The only time that anybody notices produce being taken is when you have like a small garden at home yourself. And I planted one. They're out howling tonight. When I had a garden in my back, and I knew they'd be into it, so that was fine. And I would go out there in the morning, I'd find giant footprints going up and down the rows, like between the tomatoes or the beans or whatever, or the melons, and you just find these giant footprints. They never took all of it, but they took, they did take some of it every time. And I've got several friends that grow gardens. They do the same thing there, but they don't seem to take all of it. Like, they don't wipe it out clean. They seem to just be more into taking some. Now, when they used to get in with my chickens and they took all the eggs, I finally just said, I don't care if you take them, but leave some for my kids. And after that, it was about 50-50. I said, I need at least 6 or 7 eggs a day. And that's exactly what I got. And the rest of it would be gone. But when it's decent weather like this, they're moving, they're hustling. And I know they're out tonight because I heard a couple of howls earlier, and now I hear the coyotes going. And the only time I hear the coyotes going is when they're running, because they have them as pets. Not every coyote, but they will use them as pets.
You know what I'd like you to do while you're still there in Sasquatch country? I'd like you to put like a bell out there, so that way we can maybe hear the bell ring.
Wouldn't that be fun? I'll put one out and see if they'll do it. I had somebody that came out and they made a brass ring and it had chimes in it for them. And they never did anything with it, but yet I had chimes up by the house and those would go off now and then. And I had a Ford Explorer and it had the alarm on it, and they would set that alarm off all the bloody time, 3-4 o'clock in the morning. And I took it in and had it looked at, thinking there was a problem with the alarm, because I had a security camera out there and nobody ever messed with it. And they would set that alarm off like crazy. It was ridiculous. But now where I'm going, Texas is known for all the Sasquatch. So I'm hoping to get some good action there too. You want to stay out of like Sam Houston National Forest. Some of the national forests are actually much more dangerous. You get much more crabby ones in there because there's so many people that are up in their business there. They just don't like it. If you're going to be in the national parks, try to find an off the wall place so it's maybe not so congested with people, or stay right on a trail, like a well-known trail, because then they'll come to the trail to see what the people are doing and they don't feel so threatened. Right. So I'm hoping I get good interaction. So far, I've never been anywhere and not gotten interaction. So I'm hoping. I know I did have, when I was down there looking at property, there was dogmen down there. I didn't have problems with them. Like, I went there and I was looking at the property, and the property itself, everybody who knows me knows I do a lot of energy work, frequency work. And that area really needs some serious energy work done to it. The soil just feels dead. And they hit me with the wall of fear. They never zap me. I haven't been zapped yet, thank God. I mean, someday I'm sure I will, but I haven't been zapped by anything yet. And they hit me with the wall of fear. And I was like, guys, I'm not here to bust anybody, because I get sent to areas, that are problem areas. I'm like, I'm not here to bust anybody. I'm trying to help you. Like, I need to switch the energy here because it's just such a dead area. And as soon as I said that, the wall of fear was gone and I got hit with the love bubble. And this is from the dogmen. So they're not like, everybody thinks that they're all just hateful monsters. They're really and truly not. They really aren't. I mean, it depends on who created and what they were created for. The government ones are the ones that tend to be highly, highly aggressive. The thing is, they don't like being followed around. Like, the Sasquatch are more tolerant of us following them. You get up in a dogman's business and 9 out of 10 times they'll threaten you, but they aren't going to do anything to you. They'll give you that warning, but they just want to be left alone in peace.
Why do you think there's such a difference in attitude and ego of this creature by just moving a few states over?
I think, it depends on the area. It's just like, you go to Michigan, you go to Detroit, and you've got nothing but gangs and shootings and everything else. But then you go more in the upper UP and it's calmer and it's more peaceful. It just depends on what's going on around it. It's an environmental thing. If they're around people that have a lot of the dark energy, or agitated or angry, congested, or they're hunting them down and they're harassing them all the time, that's the attitude they're going to get. If it's more peaceful, if it's more relaxed, if it's more where they've got space where they're not feeling like they're infringed upon, they have a better attitude. it's hit and miss. It's like you go and you move into a neighborhood, and so like I'm fortunate, both my neighbors are nice, but I've been in places where the one side, that neighbor's nice, but then the other side, they're just as rotten can be. But the cryptids the bad ones hang together and the good ones hang together. It's like LBL. And I say this all the time, and everybody thinks, I'm just on my soapbox, but they go to the LBL and they stay there because they're bad. They want to be left alone. And then because people don't care if they have a good encounter or a bad one, they follow over to LBL because they know they're all there. And it's like, you go in there, you're going to have a negative encounter, but that's what you're going to have the rest of your life, because now you're marked with the negative encounter. If you go and have a positive encounter, you're going to get more interaction the rest of your life. And LBL does have some good ones in there, but the bad ones run hardcore through there. And the problem with it is they go there to get away from us so that they're not going to have to kill anybody. And then we go in there and poke them and poke them and poke them and irritate them. And, yeah, they're bad. I get that. But we already know they're bad. Why are we in there? Why do you go there? Other than you don't care what kind of experience you have as long as you get it. So then they hurt somebody. The government finds out they hurt somebody, and then the military goes in there and tries to kill them all down when we're the ones that went there and harassed them. Like, they're bad, they're evil. I get that. There's no excuse for what they do. But if you know that an area is bad, you've got a whole other world to go to. You don't have to be putting yourself and them at risk. You're setting them up to fail because you're in there poking at them.
You got that right. 3 minutes
and that's
ago.
Not in defense. That's not in defense of them. It's just the explanation.
Is it also because of the environment? I mean, mugginess.
I
couldn't imagine walking around the swamps of Louisiana with
oh my God.
Everything from cottonmouths to alligators.
I know. Now, the ones that I've talked to in Louisiana have been lovely. I will say that. But I think you're absolutely right. If they're in these conditions that are miserable, what kind of a mood is that going to put you in? And again, if they're in an area where they're getting harassed by us and they have no peace and quiet, they're going to be crabby. They're going to be bitchy. Now, there's places in Michigan, especially Pigeon, Michigan. Not that there aren't nice ones in Pigeon, but there's some really, really nasty ones in there. And there was one that finally got hold of a guy, and the guy didn't do anything other than he happened to buy a house in their area and they felt threatened by it.
Right.
I mean, it's like with our people. We have people that are good. We have people that are bad. What is to say what sets our bad people off? They just do. That's just who they are inside of them as a person. It's not much different with them. But I will say this, with the cryptids, the bad ones like to hang together and the good ones like to hang together, and they try to avoid each other. Because you got negative energy and positive energy, and they repel each other. They don't want anything to do with each other. And that's what they do. So, you've got to pick and choose where you're going to go. If you go into an area and you feel negative energy, leave. Nothing's saying that you have to stay there. Nobody's holding a gun to your head. Go find a different area that has more positive energy in there. Have that positive interaction, and then you're going to have a lifetime of interaction. Because once you're accepted by them, it's fantastic, and you're going to have it the rest of your life. You go into a bad area and you say, well, I don't care because I'm bigger, badder, and stronger. I'll piss him off because at least then I'll get to see him. You are marked, And it's like, I don't care how big and bad you think you are. You wait till 1,200 to, 1,500 pounds of fury is coming at your butt that has paranormal abilities, and there's nothing you can do. A gun will not save your butt.
That's very true. Very true. My friend, it is that time where we unfortunately have to say goodnight to you because
that's okay.
But it is also time for us to move on this short edition of the Cryptid Report this week. Do me a favor, if you don't mind, tell people where they can find your website. And
oh, sure. It is www.paranormal-empowerment.com, or you can find me on Facebook under Robin Haynes, Haynes, not Robin L, just Robin Haynes. And I always answer everybody.
I know you do. You're good at that.
I know. I try. I try really hard. I'm not perfect by any means, but I at least put forth an effort.
Well, we love you for it, Robin. So thank you.
I love you too.
Talk to you next week, my friend.
Bye.
The ever laughing Robin Haynes. and the Short and Crypted Report. We love her around here. Isn't her energy just infectious? Coming up next, it's the Dave 101. What am I raging about this week? You'll find out momentarily. Then the weird news of the week. Stay tuned. Spaced Out Radio's final half hour is next. Still thinking. Excuse me. Still thinking about what we are going to chat about here. Let's see here. What do you guys think? What should I do the Dave 101 on? Hi, Chris. Teen, how are you? Blue Cruise? Sweet Tony D, how are you? Is it going to be a Dickopedia? Could be. Quantum chromodynamics? Oh, you got the wrong guy, Scott. You got the wrong guy for that. Oh, you'd have to do that one. Reno, Nevada, May 10th through 12th in the year of our Lord 2024. Come join us for the third annual SOR fan party at the Silver Legacy Casino and Resort. We're going to have a bunch of special guests there for you to hang out with, like Jim Goodall, like Science Bob, Merle, Melinda Leslie, Geraldine Orozco, and many, many others who are going to join us to all hang out with you. We do this party for you. So VIP tickets are $100. Regular tickets are $60. That comes with a VIP swag package. You get a swag bag. And we got good stuff in there. There will be good stuff, I promise you. You're going to get a live radio show on the Friday night, followed up by the VIP party. Saturday, you could join Merle in Virginia City for a ghost tour. Yeah, the start of the Gold Rush Trail, right there. And right after that, you can join Melinda Leslie that night for a Skywatch for UFOs. All right. Christine Minurka Love you. Love your program. I'm in the background stalking you in a good way. Wonderful. Wonderful. I never get messages like that. I'm actually happy about that one. I'm going to post that one up right there. So, anyways, come join us. And if you want to go for, here's the beautiful part about it. If you want to go for breakfast with Science Bob or dinner with Melinda, you just do it. You set it up. Hi, Miss Tessa Marie. Are you coming to Reno? Okay, go to info@spacedoutradio.com. Info@spacedoutradio.com. Reserve your tickets today. We want to see as many people there as possible. Hey, we all need a good time. We all need a break. That's a good one to have. Come join us, will you? Thank you tonight to W. David Page, T-Bone ×2, W. Decker ×2, and Deb for the super chats. And here we go with the final half hour. Here we go with the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you missed most of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter @Spaced Out Radio, Instagram @Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. It's that time of the night where I yell, "Get off my lawn." I'm about to get cranky. It's Dave 101.
It's time for Dave 101.
Well, it is that time where we start kind of kicking around what's going to be happening next in the UFO world. And frankly, I don't know. I really don't. There was a time when I actually thought I knew what was going on. But let me tell you, I have no clue. None. Zero, zip, zilch. Here's the reason why. There are so many stories floating around from David Grush giving new testimony behind the scenes, but we're all waiting for him to come out with some sort of documentary or book or something that he's going to drop big information. We have no Lou Elizondo because we're waiting for his book to bring out new information. We have Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, who seems like a whiny, sniveling young man who didn't get his woke way, and now he's going to throw everybody under the bus. We have people all over the world in the UFO realm who are throwing each other under the bus faster than you can throw some dirty toilet paper back in the toilet, if you know what I mean. It is uncomfortable at best to say right now that the UFO world is in shambles, because it is. And I think this is by design. We all know, we've heard people from Elizondo to many more say they wish ufology would just go away. People like you and me who've had sightings, maybe a podcast or a YouTube channel or a live radio show, who want to talk about this. We are the problem. We are the ones who are causing the infighting. We are the ones causing the drama. We are the ones who will not go away like a festering sore on the bottom of your foot when you're trying to dance the night away. No. We are not the problem as much as everybody thinks we are. See, the reality is this, and what people like scientists like Rich Hoffman and many others don't get is we never asked to see those UFOs. We never asked to see them aliens. We never asked to be abducted. We never asked to be operated on. We never asked to be part of a hybrid program. We never asked to go on a craft and then fly away, never to be seen again, which I'm sure has happened. Zero proof. Look, people who have had real experiences really just want one thing, one simple little thing. Can you guess what that is before I say it? It's answers. Want to know what's going on with answers. Yet the answers are quickly whisked away by the minds of brilliant people who think they're doing right, but have no idea at the harm or concern that they are actually causing. Why? Because the technology could be the next renaissance on this planet. We have not had a renaissance in, I believe, more than 300, 400 years. We're due for a technological renaissance that will take us into a different genre very, very soon. One that many of us may not get attached to because we're a little bit more elderly. But I look at my son and my daughters and I think, yeah, they may actually see that. And let's just hope that it's not in a military industrial complex kind of way. Those who want us out of ufology, though, continue to cry the way that everything is BS, nothing is real. We're making up a bunch of these stories when we're not. Look, the majority of us can tell fact from fiction, even though the story may change a little bit from what really happened to what you explain happened. There's always a tad of exaggeration. Not because we mean to, because that's how the human brain works. So with that, I'm wondering, where do we go from here? Are we able to literally push ourselves into the forefront to be major players in this field? Scientists don't want to talk about it, right? The scientists don't want to talk about it. They don't want to share their information with you and I. The majority of them are after grant after grant after grant. So that way they have the upper hand. It kind of sucks because there are literally hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people in the United States and Canada alone that have had extraordinary experiences. And all the while this is going on, the only thing we as experiencers want to know is, why me? Why me? It's like being in the middle of a car accident that you haven't even been at fault for, but everybody's shoving you out of the way. And you're like, hey, why did this happen to me? Why did I get hurt? I was having such a good day today, and now I got this. Why me? The UFO world, if the United States government does have crash retrievals and alien bodies, which I do believe they do, is going to open up a huge realm of technology if it comes out. Technology we have never, ever seen or maybe even thought of in one way or another. It is going to be cool when it happens. But are we ready for that to happen? I know I'm not. Even though if a UFO landed in my yard right here after this show, would I go out and see it? Heck yeah. Would I have the fortitude and the strength to walk up to the craft? I cannot answer that. Would I get on the craft if I was invited. Yeah. I've procreated, so I have nothing more to go. I've already done it all. But the reason why I bring this up is with Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick recently going a little bit haywire, throwing everybody under the bus. What I'm hearing behind the scenes is that it's not too fun among the scientists, among the academics at all right now either. This is what happens when you jockey for money. Eventually, there are splits, there are cliques, and everybody starts keeping quiet. Nobody wants to handle coming on a radio show like this one and having to answer questions about who, what, when, and how of the UFO world. They don't want it. They don't want to be a part of it. And I guess that's their prerogative. But the people who are the innocent ones in this, those who are having the ultimate extraterrestrial experience, it's an answer that the majority, at least for the time being, will be disappointed. Why? Because we know the government doesn't want to talk about this subject. They want it all for themselves. Where have we heard that before? They don't want you to know about Roswell or what's hiding there, or Dugway or Wright-Patterson, or many other places. We are being the pain in the butt. And there are good people looking into this, from Richard Dolan all the way down to a brand new researcher who's on show number 1 on YouTube. I don't know about you, but the one thing about my own personal anxiety is I can't handle not having an answer. I don't know why. It's just been that way a long time. Maybe we're not meant for the answers. Maybe it's our kids' generations that are ready for it, or maybe grandchildren for some of you. But we do know one thing. The contact is real. There's been enough people who have mentioned that. We want answers to why we're being abducted. We want answers to why everything UFO continues to happen around me or you. We want to know why they're experimenting on things like women's private parts or male genitalia. Everything from taking samples of hair to implanting you with a weird object at the bottom of your foot that you could feel, but you could never itch. How real is that? We all want what's best for ufology. We all say that. But the problem is we have a lot of people guiding ufology right now and trying to take it in multiple directions where it's being stretched out like the old-fashioned toy Stretch Armstrong. But there's unfortunately nobody holding these groups accountable. Accountable for their voices, like using the term UAP, or accountable for what they're trying to play in the disclosure for dollars world. Very rarely these days will you actually see somebody who is, let's say, interested in bringing this out, but they're not advertising it well on their website, social media, or anything. How do we combat that? We got to keep pushing for the story. More people who are experienced need to find the bravery and come on shows like Spaced Out Radio to explain everything that happened to you. You know, it's funny because when we've shopped around this show to other radio stations, we have people who will follow us, throw us under the bus. But when you do that, you're actually harming yourself. When you harm yourself, you give yourself a bad reputation. That's one thing I'm very proud of, is the reputation that Spaced Out Radio has with its listeners. It's unique. It's awesome. And that has to continue. there is no choice. So where do we go from here? Stop paying attention to all the anger out there. Stop paying attention to the vitriol, okay? Or stop paying attention to everyone who is trying to crack this subject. We have a great subject here, everybody, and that is whether or not we are alone in our universe. It doesn't get much better than that unless Jesus Christ decided to end his hiatus and come back down himself. Somehow I don't think that one is happening. But as we move forward, we always must stay positive. We always must put the love out there, because just in case something that isn't loving is flying by, you don't want to attract their decision and their tracking mode of now you. So when you're out there on social media and you see somebody say, use the term UAP, correct them. If they are somebody who loves to rip on people because they don't personally believe the experience, that's too bad on them. Don't worry about that. Worry about what's in your control. Worry about what you can get out of events like this and take it for the positive rather than the bowl full of negativity that we have right before bed, pardon me, and falling asleep to the next day. Keep fighting, people. Keep going for it. Keep pushing yourself, because we do know the truth is out there. But we're running on so many gamuts right now, we couldn't tell the front from the back. And that is your Dave 101.
Nobody's gonna know. They're gonna know.
Well, that's the wrong theme song. Totally wrong theme song. Because Courtney's not coming in. I meant to get to the news wire. Here we go.
What time is it?
It's time for Shirky Poo's news!
I'm going to start off with a weird one here. For all you ladies and some men out there who wear Uggs, this is just more Ugg. Like, ugly. Internet fashionistas are now mocking the newest tall Ugg boots, and videos of the colorful footwear have gone viral, all for the wrong reason. Why? Oh, let Dave tell you. I'll tell you. The women's classic ultra tall boots are 26 inches high with stackable zippered panels that can be deconstructed or layered to transform to a classic mini 2 boot. It's the color scheme on the boot that seems to have the internet in a lather. Why? The footwear brand, known for producing stylish and comfortable sheepskin lined boots, offers 2 color patterns, all black or chestnut multi, a color gradient of orange, yellow, and white at top, a chestnut brown that many online observe are comparing to candy corn, beer foam, or the more disgusting urine chart. Yeah, you heard me properly there. Urine chart. According to the New York Post, the boots were originally being sold for $600, but are on sale for $419.99. The shoes have a 3.9 star rating on the official UGG website, with 71% saying they would recommend them to a friend. A TikToker named Erin earned 8.5 million views when she posted a TikTok video about the new design. I was served this sponsored ad, probably because they are desperate to sell them, and I cannot wait to wrap my head around this UGG boot, Erin said in her video. I can't imagine wearing this boot, even if UGG paid me $419. One TikToker recommended. Why are they ugly? Well, let's tell you. They start off with the patented brown, the chestnut brown. Then it switches to an orange color, then a yellowish orange, eventually going to yellow. It's all about the PP, I guess. I don't get it. Kind of gross. A Stanley Cup craze, not involving hockey pucks or sticks, has gripped California. Police near the state capital of Sacramento said a woman was allegedly busted last week with thousands of dollars worth of Stanley insulated mugs inside her vehicle. The Roosevelt Police Department said that officers responded January 17th to a retail store for a report of a theft that had just occurred. Staff saw a woman trying to take a shopping cart full of Stanley water bottles without paying for them. The suspect refused to stop for staff and stuffed her car with the stolen merchandise. Police said a cop spotted the suspect vehicle and pulled the driver over after she entered the highway. 31-year-old Delaney Garcia Lopez was arrested for grand theft. After searching her vehicle, police said they recovered 65 branded, insulated tumblers valued at nearly $2,500 that were allegedly taken from multiple business stores. While Stanley quenchers are all the rage, we strongly advise against returning them into crime to fulfill your hydration habits, Roosevelt stated. According to the LA Times, the mugs are all the rage in the state and across the U.S. Influencers on TikTok have collaborated with the company to popularize the mugs, which keeps drinks cold for hours and hours. Isn't that nice? Isn't that nice? That is your news for the night. Hope you had a good time with this. I really do. I think anytime we get to spend together and share each other's stories and happenings, it just makes for a much, much more pleasant atmosphere, doesn't it? I think so. You may too. You may think differently, and that's okay. We don't mind. Very much appreciate the love and support, everybody, because it's been a great week of shows. It's been a great week of knowledge, and we get to do it all again tomorrow night, which is exciting. I hope you don't mind, because I'm going to be right there tuning on in. Really, really I am. So make sure you go check it on out as well, because it's a lot of fun. I want to say a big thank you to Varla Ventura tonight for coming on in and being our guest. Her website is varlaventura.net, where you can find all of her major books and components that she sells. Or just buy them off her website. She'll autograph them for you. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter, hashtag Spaced Out Radio.
I know you're out there somewhere.
Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
Make a mistake. We're watching.
we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home.
I know you're out there somewhere watching me.
Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night. Okay. Good show, everybody. Give yourself a round of applause. That's what I did. That's what I did. All right. All right, everybody. I want to say a big thank you to T-Bone, Deb, W. David Page, T-Bone with a hat trick, actually, and W. Decker with 2. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for the love. I will be back tomorrow night on the show. Our guest is going to be Eric Altman. We're chasing down Dogman tomorrow night, people. Can you handle it? God, I hope so. That's going to be a fun one. Don't mind my yawning. Dave is tired, as per usual. And so we're going to end this stream. We'll see you all tomorrow, everybody. Take care.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.